Numbers chapter 9. We're deep in the wilderness, and the Israelites are literally about to celebrate their very first anniversary of freedom. So let's dive right into this comprehensive, step-by-step explainer of this absolutely pivotal chapter.
Welcome to the Part S channel. Today we explain Numbers chapter 9 in a clear and simple way, step by step. We are going to take our time to clearly walk through every single verse of this chapter, really understanding the literal meaning, the peshat, without rushing at all. We're picking up the narrative exactly where the text sets us, deep in the vast, arid wilderness. Think about it. The dust has barely settled from their miraculous escape from Egypt just a year prior. The Israelites are entirely dependent on divine provision, navigating this newborn relationship with God. The stakes are incredibly high out there, and the environment is unforgiving. Let's see exactly what unfolds. Here's our roadmap. First, the Wilderness Passover, then the impure men's dilemma, the second Passover, the rules for all, the cloud and fire, and finally, following divine timing.
Section 1. The Wilderness Passover, verses 1 through 5.
In verses 1 through 3, God establishes the exact time and place for the Israelites to celebrate their very first anniversary of freedom. They're stationed in the harsh environment of the desert of Sinai. The text specifies it's the first month of their second year out of Egypt. God commands them to celebrate this Passover at the exact appointed time, the 14th day of the first month, right at twilight or dusk. This isn't just a loose suggestion, you know. The strict requirement is that they absolutely must observe it in accordance with all its established rules and regulations, remembering exactly what they were rescued from.
Moving into verses 4 and 5, we see this really beautiful and, frankly, rare moment of complete unity among the people. Moses relays the instruction to celebrate the Passover, and the Israelites just immediately obey. Picture this. In a camp of potentially millions of people, they hold the celebration right there in the desert of Sinai at twilight on the 14th day. What really stands out here is the absolute harmony of the moment. No one argued, no one tried to negotiate the terms. The Israelites did everything exactly as the Lord had commanded Moses.
Section 2. The impure men's dilemma, verses 6 through 8.
So, a sudden conflict arises in verses 6 and 7. Some men were ceremonially unclean because they'd been near a dead body. Now, it's super important to understand that in this context, being unclean isn't a sin or a sign that they were physically dirty. It's just a state of ritual impurity. Maybe they had just performed the honorable, necessary task of burying a beloved family member. But according to the strict rules of the sanctuary, this meant they couldn't participate in the holy sacrifices on that specific day. And the thing is, they weren't looking for a convenient excuse to skip their religious duties. They were heartbroken that they couldn't participate. So they approach Moses and Aaron with this passionate, burning question. They ask, "We've become unclean because of a dead body, but why should we be kept from presenting the Lord's offering with the other Israelites at the appointed time?" They earnestly wanted to fulfill their spiritual duty and deeply felt the pain of being excluded from the community.
Now, instead of guessing or relying on his own logic to solve this totally unprecedented issue, Moses demonstrates some incredible leadership here. He doesn't dismiss them, and he definitely doesn't arbitrarily invent a new rule just to make them happy. He tells them, "Wait until I find out what the Lord commands concerning you." He takes their genuine, heartfelt desire straight to the top. It shows so much humility and total reliance on divine authority.
Section 3. The second Passover, verses 9 through 12. And right through verses 9 and 10, God provides a profoundly merciful resolution to their dilemma. He decrees that anyone who is unclean because of a dead body, or even someone who is far away on a journey during the regular time, gets a second chance to celebrate the Passover. This second Passover, often called Pesach Sheni, is established for exactly 1 month later, on the 14th day of the second month instead of the first. This is a massive accommodation. It proves that God honors the sincere desire of his people to draw near to him, even when life's unavoidable circumstances just get in the way.
But while they get incredible grace on the timing of the event, the standard of the ritual remains absolutely firm. Verses 11 and 12 make this balance perfectly clear. When celebrating this second Passover, they must still eat the lamb with unleavened bread and bitter herbs. They must leave absolutely none of the offering until morning, and they must ensure that not a single bone of the lamb is broken. The core integrity of the holy observance is fully upheld. God is ensuring that this makeup date definitely isn't just a watered-down version of the original.
Section 4. The rules for all, verses 13 and 14.
Verse 13 establishes a severe boundary, basically to prevent people from taking this grace for granted. While God provides a second chance for those with valid, unavoidable excuses, willfully ignoring the Passover carries a really heavy price. If a person is clean and not traveling, yet simply fails to celebrate and present the Lord's offering at the appointed time, that person must be cut off from his people. He bears his sin. Now, being cut off was a terrifying prospect. It meant losing your spiritual standing, your protection, and your entire social support system out in the harsh wilderness. It emphasizes that there is literally zero tolerance for apathy or intentional disobedience.
Verse 14 establishes a profound fairness within the community. If a stranger or alien living among the Israelites wants to celebrate the Lord's Passover, they absolutely can, but they must do so in accordance with its exact rules and regulations. Whether you're a native-born Israelite whose family endured slavery in Egypt, or a stranger who has actively chosen to join their ranks in the desert, there is one identical, equal law. Everyone stands on equal footing before these laws, creating a wonderfully unified society bound by shared standards.
Section 5. The Cloud and Fire, verses 15 and 16.
As we shift to the second half of the chapter, we move away from calendar rituals to the daily, lived experience of the Israelites. On the very day the tabernacle, the tent of the testimony, was set up, a constant visual manifestation of God appeared. By day, a massive cloud covered the tent, and from evening until morning, it glowed with the appearance of fire. Verse 16 confirms that this wasn't just a one-time event. This became their permanent daily reality. They were never alone. The cloud covered it by day, and at night it radiated this comforting, fiery presence.
Section 6. Following Divine Timing, verses 17 through 23.
The instructions outlined in verses 17 and 18 were incredibly simple, but they required absolute, unhesitating obedience. I mean, can you imagine living this way? You only move when the cloud moves, and you stop exactly where it stops. Whenever the cloud listed from above the tent, the entire camp of Israelites packed up and set out. Wherever the cloud settled down, they stopped and pitched their tents. Every single movement was strictly at the Lord's command.
This was an incredibly unpredictable way to live. Sometimes the cloud stayed over the tabernacle for only a few days. Other times, it stayed just from evening until morning, meaning they unpacked to rest for a single night, and the very next morning, they had to break camp and march all over again. Whether it lifted by day or by night, they had to be constantly vigilant and ready to go. They couldn't plan their own travel itinerary. They had to rely entirely, 100%, on divine timing. Verses 22 and 23 really emphasize the extreme patience this journey required. The wait could be 2 days, a full month, or even a year. Imagine waiting a full year in the harsh desert, completely unable to make long-term plans or put down roots, fully surrendering your entire schedule to the Lord's command. As long as the cloud remained over the tabernacle, the Israelites would remain in camp. They encamped at the Lord's command, and they set out at the Lord's command, fully obedient to the orders given through Moses.
Section 7. Practical Life Lessons.
Having walked through the entire literal text of chapter 9 step by step, let's distill the practical lessons we can actually apply to our own lives today. First, God is merciful and gives second chances when we face legitimate, unavoidable setbacks, just like He did with the second Passover. He sees our intentions. Second, when we face a complex dilemma, we must seek divine guidance rather than rushing to make up our own rules, showing the exact same humility Moses did. Third, we must treat everyone equally. The standard of fairness applies just as much to the stranger as it does to the native. And finally, true spiritual growth requires profound patience with the unpredictable timing of our own life journeys. We have to learn to trust the process, knowing when to move forward and when to stay patiently encamped.
Thank you for learning with us. If this helped you understand the chapter better, like, subscribe, and join us for the next chapter.